Hi, this is Jamey from Stonemeyer Games, and I'm here today to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Seasons, the board game. Now, I was actually playing Castles of Mad King Ludwig the other day, which I have already talked about on a different video. And I realized one of the things that I really liked about Castles of Mad King Ludwig is that all players have a common pool of choices to choose from in terms of the tiles that the master builder puts out. And there's this really nice tension between someone else. It's kind of like in worker placement where you're hoping someone doesn't take the thing that you really want. But there are other things that are okay if you get them instead. And so I was thinking about other games that do this because it's kind of it's a neat mechanism to use, and games do it in different ways. And Seasons came to mind because of the dice drafting system in Seasons. Basically, in Seasons, on every turn, you're going to roll dice equal to the number of players plus one for that particular season. And they're these big, chunky dice. They're wonderful, wonderful dice. There's a different type of die for each season. All the red dice are the same, but they're different from all the green dice, which are the same within the green color category or the spring. And so you roll for a two-player game. Say you'd roll 3 green dice. I believe it's the player who rolls them picks second. So each player will pick one die, and then the third die determines time. It'll move the kind of the time tracker forward, but which is interesting in itself. But I love this common pool of choices to choose from, and the dice create a little random factor, but it's not really luck because everyone's choosing from the same pool. Luck might factor in a little bit if you're really needing something in particular from the dice to come up, and it just isn't. None of the dice are rolling that. But there are a few backup actions you can take on your player mat at a pretty hefty expense, but you can take them if you really need them. But for the most part, it's just this really nice variety of options to choose from, and they change every roll. Every player has this common pool to choose from. So I'm intrigued by games that do this, where every round, every turn, a new common pool of options is created. And the options aren't so complicated that everyone takes a long time to pick, because otherwise you're sitting there and waiting for everyone else to pick. Just like quick options, but different in subtle ways. Subtle ways enough that you want something more than someone else does. I think that's important to create tension in these types of games. So I think it's neat that Ludwig does it with the tiles that come out. It's really cool that Seasons does it with these beautiful dice. Castle Dice also has a similar dice drafting mechanism. And really, I kind of think this is an underused mechanism, the dice drafting mechanism, because people love rolling dice. You don't need a ton of dice to pull it off, which can let you maybe expand your budget to include these giant chunky dice. And it adds a lot of neat variety to a game. So I'd love to hear about, I'm sure there are other games that do this that I just don't know about, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about them in the comments. And I'd love to talk about more ways that this mechanism, this dice drafting mechanism, can be used in games. I'd like to see it used in some other creative ways. Thanks. I look forward to hearing and reading your comments.